Bhakti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurubani Pasharne Sasmi Abadi Pachitari Sari Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Guru Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurubani Pasharne Sasmi Abadi Pachitari Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara. So, you are welcome to today's session. Hare Krishna, can you hear me, please? Can you hear me?
Prabhu, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Welcome. Yes, we welcome everyone to today's session. And let's say in the previous session, please, Aswini Kumar, you can mute your mic. Good. We're talking, Krishna was talking. Who again? Okay. Krishna was telling Arjuna that he should perform his karma. And Arjuna was arguing as to why he should do jnana. He wanted to take shelter of jnana so that he will avoid fighting. And Krishna said, no, you cannot do that. At this your stage, your eligibility is karma. You have to perform karma. Klesa di katarata stam. Your adhikara is to perform karma. And he said, if you perform karma, Arjuna said, if I perform karma, then I will be bound by sinful reaction. Then Krishna said, no, you will not be bound by sinful reaction. This karma you are doing is karma for me. This Bhagavad Apita, this karma yoga. You will act, as an offering for me. So I will take the karma, you take the yoga. Okay? This one does not bring sinful reactions, but I will present you a series of regulations. Now, there are a series of regulations guiding all the Vikamins, the non-devotees. Krishna designed a mechanism to reach them wherever they are. So he brought Karma Kanda. The Karma Kanda regulations are regulations to include everyone from wherever he is. Whether you are a meat eater, whether you are a Mlesha, you are a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, and whatever you are, even if you are a dog eater, there are regulations you will follow that can gradually elevate you. So the purpose of the Karma Kanda session is to give opportunity for everyone to be gradually elevated until they come to the platform of this Karma Kanda, which is the ultimate platform. So Krishna said, for that, I sent forth in the beginning of creation. The Lord of creations sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this judgment or sacrifice, because his performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So it gave activities. You can worship the demigod for this purpose. You can do this, you can do that, you can do that. But you should do that so that you can be gradually elevated. That is not the end. It is just a means to the end. So Krishna gave opportunity for everyone to perform. That the demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. And that in charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of Jagya, will supply all necessities for you. But he who enjoys such sacrifice without offering them back to the demigods in turn is certainly a thief. So, having said that, Krishna went further to say that the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sin because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat sin. So this is the regulation given, that I'm giving all this, but you, a devotee, you should act as an offering unto me. When your activities are all directed towards pleasing me, you'll be free from all sinful reactions, including food you eat. When the food you eat is offered as a sacrifice to me, you will not incur any sinful reaction. Therefore, do your activities as an offering unto me. That all living beings subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of Jagya, and Jagya is born of sacrifice. This is text 14. So in text 14, Krishna is elaborating. He's still explaining, trying to convince Arjuna to do Niskama Kama Yoga. That Krishna hearing wants Arjuna that even in the forest, all food, is nurtured by rain coming from the demigods. Therefore, he cannot avoid his obligation to perform the sacrifice born of his prescribed duty. He should do his prescribed duty. So this is the emphasis Krishna is still doing. Now, from here, verse 14 to verse 36, Krishna is going to explain the importance of living by example for the sake of others. You have to do sacrifice, you have to do your work as a matter of example for others. So this is where the session we are in. You should do your work as an example for others. That whatever a great man does, come on and follow. Prabhuji's, somehow or the other, my Bhagavad Gita proper is not here with me. I was hurrying until Bhagavad Gita is in shop. Maybe I will later send for it, but somebody can read the translation of verse 14. Verse 14.
All living bodies subsist of food, grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, that is sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties.
Okay, read the purport.
Okay, purport. Shrabala Dev Vidya Bhusana, a great commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, writes as follows: Ye idradi angatyavasti tam yejnam savasram vishnum abhyachyata shesam asnati tenata dehe yatram sampadyati te santa. Prabhu, this one I think I have to.
Just read the translation.
Okay, the Supreme Lord, who is known as the Yajna Purasa, or the personal beneficiary of all sacrifices, is the master of all the demigods who serve him as the different limbs of the body serves the whole. Demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna are appointed officers who manage material affairs, and the Vedas direct sacrifices to satisfy these demigods so that they may be pleased to supply air, light, and water sufficiently to produce food grains. When Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods who are different limbs of the Lord are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. For this reason, the devotees of the Lord who are in Krishna consciousness offer food to Krishna and then eat, a process which nourishes the body spiritually. By such action, not only are past sinful reactions in the body vanquished, but the body becomes immunized to all contaminations of material nature. When there is an epidemic diseases, an antiseptic vaccine. Antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such an epidemic. Similarly, food offered to Lord Vishnu and then taken by us makes us sufficiently resistant to material affection. And one who is accustomed to this practice is called a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness who eats only food offered to Krishna can contract all reactions of past material infections, which are epidements to the progress of self-realization. On the other hand, one who does not do continues to increase this volume of sinful actions, and this prepares the next body to resemble hawks and dogs, to suffer these resultant reactions of all sins. The material world is full of contaminations, and one who is immunized by accepting prasadam of the Lord, that's food offered to Vishnu, is saved from the attack, whereas one who does not do so becomes subjected to contamination. Food, grains, or vegetables are factually eatables. The human being eats different kinds of food, grains, vegetables, fruits, and etc. And the animals eat the refuse of the food, grains, and vegetables, grass, plants, and etc. Human beings who are accustomed to eating meat and flesh must also depend on the production of vegetation in order to eat the animals. Therefore, ultimately, we have to depend on the production of the field and not on the production of big factories. The field production is due to sufficient rain from the sky, and such rains are controlled by demigods like Indra, sun, moon, and etc. And they are all servants of the Lord. The Lord can be satisfied by sacrifices. Therefore, one who cannot perform them will find himself in scarcity. That is the law of nature. Yajna, especially the Sankirtan Yajna, prescribed for this age, must therefore be performed to save us at least from scarcity of food supply. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that is very clear. A lot of sacrifices are given in the Vedic scriptures so that everyone can get gradual purification by doing those sacrifices. And in that way, they will get gradually elevated until they become Niskama yogis. So the verse 15 is a continuation of that regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the supreme personality of God. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally secreted in the act of sacrifice. The purpose of the sacrifices is to purify the performer and gradually bring him up to the platform of Niskama Kamayu. Prabhujis and Matajis, for your information, there is Guru Puja going on in the temple, and it is very high. But very soon, in less than 5 minutes, they will finish. Then we can allow Raganuga Bhakti Prabhu to ask his question. Raganuga Bhakti has a question, but until the Ketan finish, please. So let's continue. Everyone is dependent on food grains. That is true. Everyone. We are all dependent on food grains. And grains grow from the earth. Grains grow from the earth. But their growth is dependent on rain. That is true. Now, Krishna is saying that rain comes from the performance of Jagyas offered to Indra. The demigods are universal administrators in charge of various universal amenities. Lord Indra is in charge of rain. And when he supplies rain to the earth, there will be vegetation. And by that, we all subsist on grains. So we are all interdependent on each other, starting from the demigods to the human beings. So as the demigods are offering their services, the human beings will recognize them. But when you become a devotee of the Lord and you recognize Krishna, automatically the demigod is satisfied also. So eventually we'll come to that. But first, we have to understand that this is the mechanism, this is the stage. The inspiration and direction to perform such yajna comes from the Vedas. It is the Vedas that define how these yajnas should be done. So the Vedic literature supply all the yajnas, the sacrifices to be performed, either directly to please the Supreme Lord, or to please the demigods, or to please the forefathers, or to please the parents. Everything is defined in the Vedas very elaborately. Therefore, the Vedas are coming from Krishna himself. Okay? How to perform yajnas come from the Vedas, and because the Vedas describe one's prescribed duties. Okay? The followers of the Vedic system, therefore, perform sacrifices to Indra, which results in rain, which produces the grains that we all depend upon. So the Vedas come directly from the Lord, from the Lord's breathing. The breathing of the Lord constitutes the Vedas. Thus, the link is established for an attached materialist dependence on food ultimately means dependence on Vishnu. If we are actually depending on food, everybody is depending on food. We are actually depending on Vishnu because everything is coming from Vishnu. If we depend on food at all, we are depending on Vishnu. Is there anyone here who doesn't depend on food? Jiraganunga Prabhu, after the group puja, you are going to ask your question, okay? The noise, I'm not even hearing myself as I'm talking, but we'll manage it until they finish very soon. If you are depending on food at all, had food yesterday, that means you depend on Vishnu. If you have been eating food all this year, that means you have been depending on Vishnu, whether you know or not. Yes. So if you are still eating food today, you are still depending on Vishnu. And if you will eat food tomorrow, you are depending on Vishnu. So dependence on Vishnu, you cannot rule it because you cannot stay without food. Food. The all-pervading transcendence, the personality of God being absolute, is not different from the act of sacrifice. Gradually, the followers of the Vedas understand that Vishnu is above the demigods because he's the one who empowers the demigods worship in the sacrificial process. In other words, Indra's power to provide rain is supplied by the personality of Godhead. Indra is not independent. He gets his ability to produce rain from the Supreme Personality of God. This understanding gradually blossoms into the realization that Vishnu is the true object of worship. Okay? If you worship gods, therefore we say you're like pouring water to the root, to the tree of life. Automatically, the demigods, who are like the leaves and the branches of the tree, will become satisfied. So one who is a devotee is not separately indebted to any demigod because it's in the process of watering the root. Therefore, become a devotee. Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to perform his duties for his satisfaction. So that by doing so, automatically all the demigods will be pleased. But he doesn't need to separately worship any particular demigod for a particular purpose. Because the process of devotional service is the process of watering the root to the tree. The demigods are the branches and leaves of the tree. So they will automatically be satisfied. Just like you send food to the stomach and automatically all the limbs and the senses are alive. So this is the process. Krishna is encouraging Arjuna not to give up his duty. He should do it because that is his own eligibility. At least he should do it as a matter of showing examples for others. If Arjuna refuses to fight and leave the battle and Krishna approves it, other people will do the same thing. They will abandon their responsibility and they will cite Arjuna as example. That Arjuna did this and Krishna allowed him. So it is authentic for me to abandon my duty also. So do your duty as a matter of showing example for the general populace. So this is where we are. Raganuga Prabhu, will you want to ask your question now?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please, I don't have any question now.
Okay, your hand was up. I saw your hand up like this.
No.
Okay, but now it's off now. It's off now. Okay, so in verse 16, Krishna is saying that, my dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by the Vedas, certainly lives a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain. Okay? So he's still emphasizing that he lives in vain, he who lives for just the satisfaction of the senses. He lives in vain because human life is meant for spiritual elevation, and he has wasted that opportunity. So wasting the opportunity of the human life is living in vain. Okay? He's engaging solely in animalistic endeavors, ensures he's taking a lower birth. Yes. The performance of Kamakanda sacrifices, however, will gradually purify him by redirecting his desires from concentration on the temporal and to the concentration of the eternal. So it is good for him to follow the sacrificial regulations so that he can gradually be purified. Here is how a follower of the Vedic system progresses. Instead of trying to enjoy his senses unrestrictedly, a follower of the Vedas surrenders to Vedic authority, okay, which then regulates his actions and engages him in Kamakanda sacrifices. The goal of those sacrifices is to attain prosperity, either in this life or a future life. Desiring abundance, he may perform a sacrifice to give birth to a son, to reap a bountiful harvest, or to overcome disease. The sacrifice is given, following which he will gradually be elevated. So those are considered low-level sacrifices because their fruits are limited to this life. Sacrifices for prosperity, for good job, for a son, even though they are recommended, they are low-level sacrifices. So you can see that when you see Christendom, the focus is on these low-level sacrifices. Prosperity gospel. Prosperity, you get a beautiful wife, you get a good job, you get just profit and reward. So this is low-level sacrifices. And here is the meeting point between Christianity and the Vedic system. So Christianity is also on track, but it's for a lesser class, KG, KG 1 and 2 in spiritual life. But it's also education, so it's okay. KG, you have to pass through KG before you get to the other level. So that is okay. So that is how it goes. That gradually, however, by associating with Brahmana priests, he hears about sacrifices that will award him birth on a higher heavenly planets. Simultaneously, as he lives in the world, he inevitably experiences a variety of miseries. Family members die, droughts occur, his riches are plundered, difficulties must over time arise, because that is the nature of the material world. He is pushed to seriously contemplate heavenly enjoyment, swagger. That in the heavenly planets, these things are reduced. There is less suffering. So if he desires to go to heaven, it's better than just desiring to gratify the senses there. He wants to go to heaven for higher enjoyments. So that is the Vedas also take time to direct him how he can elevate himself, even if he wants material enjoyment, he can get it on the higher platform. But that is also for lower level, practitioners. The ultimate is coming. This is the basis of the yoga ladder. Understand? From wherever you are, you can connect. You can do your activities to please the Lord. This is the basis of the yoga ladder. And it is going to be fully explained in subsequent chapters. Okay? So he is pushed to seriously contemplate swagger. Why is satisfied with wealth, a son, or health in this life? I can go to swagger. Why satisfied with all this other world? I can go to heaven. Why should I be satisfied with the wealth and the son and some good health here? I can even go to heaven and maximize my enjoyment. It things like this. You see, I can go to swagger, drink somaras, but here there is no somaras. There is a kind of juice called somaras. When you drink it, you become so enlivened. All your senses become so enlivened that all your body will be sensitive from toe to head. Yet you will not lose focus. It's like an intoxicant, heavenly intoxicant. When you are just intoxicated by somaras, you can enjoy the senses on the highest class. You are very handsome. If you are a man, if you are a woman, you are most beautiful, like your body is being carved, with all specifications from above. And the men are like that, they can live for a very long time. They can live for thousands of years without wrinkles in their body, without growing old. So there is a higher level of enjoyment. Just like even here, those who have a lot of money, their level of enjoyment is higher than those who have less. Those who have less will be buying mama food on the street. They have 5 cities, they manage to go and use 2 cities to eat somewhere. Those who are better endowed, they can go to the best of restaurants, order a food of 5 million, and drink a wine of 2.5, and they're just enjoying. They ride on cars, while the less endowed one is managing a bicycle. Sometimes he doesn't even have a bicycle. But those who are more endowed, they ride on very luxurious cars. They are changing cars. It's nice. But when you get to the heavenly planet, the best cars, the best enjoyment here, they are just like the poorest man in the higher planets. The highest man, including the American president, will be like the lowest, poorest man in the heavenly planets. Even the poorest man in the heavenly planets is richer than the president of the world, the richest president of the world. So there is high level of enjoyment. So he desires that. And if he goes there, from there, if he's lucky, he will meet the devotees who are doing kirtan and devotional service on a very sophisticated platform. You can see that they are enjoying. If they play mridanga like this, all the tunes, all the melodies are inside the mridanga. Their hands are moving like a machine, and it doesn't pain them. And if they are dancing, their rhythm is so wonderful that they can fly like this and somersault and fly into the sky, dance, take many postures in the sky before they come and land acrobatically like this. Continue the kirtan, one person. So imagine 20, 200 people rising into the sky and somersaulting in many ways before coming down again to come and land, with some kind of particular powerful posture, rhythmically, and they are moving like it's so sweet. And when it is prasadam, it is the best of prasadam you get. Prepared in ghee, the best of everything is there. So it's a higher level of enjoyment. And that higher level of enjoyment is not desirable for pure devotees. The pure devotees desire Krishna's enjoyment, and whatever Krishna wants them to experience, they experience it with great delight. and use their own life, personal life, as an example for others. And Krishna wants Arjuna to live as example for others, to do his prescribed duty. Okay? I can go to Swaga, drink somaras, dance with beautiful women, and wander blissfully through the Nanda Kanana gardens. Why live for 100 years when I can live for thousands? It thinks like this. Gradually, as it's performing the jagya, purification is taking place. So he's always seeing the higher level, that wherever he is actually lower. There is higher level enjoyment until he will get to the level where he will see enjoying with Krishna at the highest level. And that is the most desirable level. So Kamakanda sacrifices meant to attain either short-term or long-term results are born of the mode of passion. Okay? They are performed for selfish, sensual enjoyments, long-term sacrifices. Long-term sacrifices, however, are a step further on the path because they are based on the implicit acceptance, of the soul's eternity. So higher than that, there is a level where you accept that the soul is eternal. Therefore, enjoyment must be eternal. Real enjoyment must be eternal. This is a higher level. You see, real enjoyment must be eternal. So that long-term consideration now prepares you to perform activities. The performer of the sacrifice will think, I am not this body. Therefore, I will perform opulent sacrifices, leave this body behind, and attain heaven. And within that thought is the seed of eternal spiritual life. Once you accept heavenly life, when you get there, you will accept eternal life. Because there's something higher than heaven, you will feel it, and you will hear about it, and you will be taught about it. That this heaven is very wonderful. But wonderful as it is there is another sky called the spiritual sky. Okay? Then he hears from his priest that there is distress even in heaven. Yes. Indra fears attacks on his kingdom. Thus, he realizes that he too will experience fear even in Swagaloka. So despite having fulfilled his material desires, he recognizes that his heart is still devoid of true satisfaction. So gradually, the truth of material reality dawns on him, and the truth of eternal reality dawns on him. So by the gradual process of karma, it can be elevated until it becomes a pure body. See, you will realize that even in heaven, there is fear. There is still old age, disease, and death. Brahma Bhuvana Luka, Una Avatino Arjuna, Mamu Petia Tukuntia, Una Janma, Na Vijati. But there is a place where there is no birth, no old age, no disease, and no death. That is eternal. And if we want to attain that place, yeah? So that is it. Over time, it becomes receptive to the philosophy of transcendence. Having heard from the priests about sacrifices and having experienced their results, he has become more, trusting of the priests and the shastras. He has also become more detached from material life because performing sacrifice has allowed him to taste the happiness of sacrificing the hard end results, of his work. His goal slowly evolves. He slowly focuses on higher reality. His goals slowly evolve. He no longer thinks of attaining more material happiness, but of living the material world. Now, after having had countless verses glorifying Kamakanda sacrifices and their heavenly results, he is ready to consider that Jnana Kanda section of the Vedas and and to contemplate a non-material spiritual life based on the soul's eternity becomes real to him. See, if a Brahman body associates, a Kama Yogi is someone who has accepted transcendence as his objective. That is a Kama Yogi. he offers the result of his activities as yoga. There are two types of karma yogis, the Brahmavadis or the impersonalists, and then the devotees. Each may be on the two levels, on one of the two levels, Sakama Kama Yoga or Niskama Kama Yoga. Sakama Kama Yoga means you are working, but you are fully attached to the result of the work. So this is what we were talking the other day. That is the attachment level, the result, often the result is in percentages. The difference between a Sakama Kama Yogi and a Niskama Kama Yogi is that a Sakama Kama Yogi, he may offer 10% of the result of his work. But a Niskama Kama Yogi can offer 80% of the result of his work. So they are both offering the results of their work, but the Sakama Kama Yogi offers very little percentage. He works and he gets 100 Ghana, then he offers 2 cedis. And this Kama Yogi works and he gets 100 Ghana, he offers 70 cedis. So it is in percentages. They are both offering their results, but one is offering only 2 cedis, at most 5 cedis, while the other one is offering 70 or even 80 out of 100. So it's on a higher level of understanding. They are both on the level of offering the results of their work, but one is on the lower level of the ladder, while the other one is on the higher level of the ladder. Very soon, the one on the higher level becomes a full Bhakti. Full Bhakti. So that is it. But they are both on track. And that is the beauty of it. Okay? Yes. They are both on track. So both types of Kama yogis progress gradually from Sakama to Niskama by dutifully performing their prescribed duties. As their realization increases, they also become more detached from matter. Thus, they leave their performance of Sakama Kama Yoga and climb to the next stage of the yoga ladder and become Niskama Kama Yogis. Okay? Performance of duties, detached work. Their work is no longer motivated by fruitive desires, and they perform their work on the platform of Jnana. So gradually, the Sakama Kama Yoga is elevated. From offering 5%, he offers 10%. From there, it gets to 20%. From there, it gets to 30%. From there, it gets to 40%. From there, it gets to 50%. So he gets gradually elevated. While the Niskama Kama Yogi also gets more elevated until he offers 100%. So this is the way of the yoga ladder. So while progressing in this way, however, the Niskama Kama Yogi may conclude, my prescribed duties are meant to bring me material rewards. I no longer have material desires. I don't want a son or money or a nice house. I have no desire to go to Swaga. I know I am not my body because I no longer have material desires. I do not need to perform my prescribed duties. So in the following verses 17 to verses 32, you see Krishna explains why one freed from material desires should nevertheless perform his prescribed duties. Even if you have come to that platform of thinking that you don't need material, you don't have material desires, therefore you don't need to perform your prescribed duty. Krishna says you should still perform your prescribed duties to show example. So this is the verse. This is where we have verses 17 to verses 32. We clarify this. Why we must still perform prescribed duties, even though we don't have any attachment to the result. Okay? We should do it as a matter of duty, because whatever a great man does, common man follows. So somebody should read the next verse, verse 17.
But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Purport: a person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, or impiety within is instantly cleansed, and an effect of many thousands of yagna performances. By such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, you get it? You get it? And verse 18. Verse 18. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So these verses, these two verses there, they describe one who is a self-realized person. The question is, how does a self-realized person respond to the performance of duties? How does a self-realized person relate to the performance of prescribed duty? So these two verses, verses 17 and 18, answer that question. And such a person is called Atmarati. Atmarati. These verses describe an Atmarati, one who takes pleasure in the self. He takes pleasure in the self alone. Such a person is not concerned with loss or gain while performing his duty, nor is he disturbed by obstacles. The next verse explains whether or not such a person should walk. So let's read the next verse.
19.
Yes.
Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activity, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. Purport: the Supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalists. A person, therefore, acting for Krishna or in Krishna consciousness under proper guidance and without attachment to the results of the work is certainly making progress towards the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna, because Krishna wanted him to fight to be a good man or a non-violent man. Is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the results. That is perfect action of highest degree, recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Vedic rituals, like prescribed sacrifices, are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification. But action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the results, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities, but is completely non-attached. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is clear enough. The Atmarati or Atmakrita, it performs its duty without attachment to the results at all. He is doing his duty as a matter of just duty and showing by example. Such a person is free from any kind of sinful reaction. He's completely renounced from the results of his activities. He's detached completely. He just do his duty as a matter of duty. He has no any consideration for results. If Krishna like, he awards anything. If he doesn't like, he doesn't award anything. He's not bothered by that. So he's just doing his duty as a matter of, that is Krishna consciousness. Such a person is transcendental. Then working without attachment is renunciation. Renunciation caused by knowledge. Renunciation based on knowledge. Knowledge that actually you are not this body, but the spirit, soul, and eternal part and parcel of God. So you just need to function. The hand doesn't need to reason whether it should serve the body. It is natural for the hand to serve the body, the whole body. It is natural for the hand to cut vegetables. It is natural for the hand to work as instruments to fulfill, to serve the stomach. It's natural. So when doing that work, the hands will not be attached, whether it will be giving some part of the food to squeeze like this. Like this. If I cook this food, if I cook the vegetable, will you give me some? So I can eat it like this by squeezing the vegetable, then I'm eating it. It doesn't separately think like that. It thinks that it's just natural for it to cut the vegetable and make every arrangement so that the stomach is fed. Once the stomach is fed, the energy is distributed around the body. So it's not separately attached to wanting some result for doing his duty. This is a Krishna conscious person. He renounces the fruit of his action based on the knowledge that is not the body but a spirit soul who is eternally part and parcel of God. So Krishna now gives an example of one elevated to perfection by working without attachment. In verse 20, you will see some example. Please, verse 20. Have people done this before? Or is it only me that is trying to do it to show example? So Krishna is making references to those who have done it before. This is called historical preview. Krishna is trying to show Arjuna that this thing I'm telling you to do, people have done it before. And these are some of the examples. So read verse 20.
Verse 20.
Yeah.
Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Purports. Kings like Janaka were all self-realized souls. Consequently, they had no obligation to perform the prescribed duties in the Vedas. Nonetheless, they performed all prescribed activities just to set examples for the people in general. Janaka was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Sri Ram. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendentally situated, but because he was the king of Mithiala, he had to teach his subjects how to perform prescribed duties. Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal friend, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they fought to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in situations where good arguments fail. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the other party was determined to fight. For such a right cause, there is a necessity for fighting. Although one who is situated in Krishna consciousness may not have any interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. Experienced persons in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow, and this is explained in the following verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you can see kings like Janaka, Prithu Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, many kings. They are called, some kings are called Raja Rishis. Raja Rishis, they are saintly kings. They were ruling the kingdoms, but without attachment to any result. They were doing it as a service, pure service to the Lord. Pure service. All the citizens were like their children. They care for everyone. And that's how it's supposed to be. The president or the king is supposed to take every subject as his own child. So as he will treat his own child, so shall he treat all other children. But presently, due to the influence of the virus of selfishness and personal greed, the presidents and leaders of the societies are only thinking of themselves and their immediate family extensions. To hell with every other person. That is the basis of stealing money to go and keep in abroad banks. That is the basis of them sending all their children abroad and leaving every system here rotting, and they don't care. That is the basis of trying to translocate to other planets. Americans are trying to go to other planets because they have spoiled the whole of Earth, as far as they know. They have spoiled everything. So they are now trying to locate to the moon. They don't want to die, but they are ready to destroy everyone else. And when they throw the final bomb, before they throw it, they will make it in a way that it will explode after some hours. Within that hours, they have transferred themselves to the houses they have built in the moon, if they can build as they are top. But they are making arrangements to build houses there so they can transfer all their family members before they now throw the biological weapons to finish everybody that can breathe. Once you breathe in, you just fall on the floor. So this is it. So, but it was not like that. The Rajarishis acted differently. They were caring for the citizens, they cared for the welfare of everybody. They used the money of the states to create facilities and amenities for everyone, even the poorest of man, to enjoy. So this is it. So here, if Arjuna renounces work and goes to the forest, as he suggested, people will follow his example. So what will happen to them? They will find themselves in difficulty because they will be externally renounced, but internally absorbed in their material desires. Krishna next confirms the importance of setting a proper example. But if Arjuna acted that way, it will be an improper example. So Krishna says it is important to show proper example, to set proper example. And why proper example is important is established in the next verse. Why? Verse 21.
Verse 21. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world purports. People in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. A leader cannot teach the public to stop smoking if he himself smokes. Lord Chaitanya said that a leader, a should be properly before he begins to call Acharya, or the man must follow the principles of man. The teacher cannot revealed scriptures. The revealed scriptures like Manu Samhita and similar others are considered the standard books to be followed by human society. Thus, the leader's teaching should be based on the principle of such standard shastras. One who desires to improve himself must follow the standard rules as they are practiced by the great teachers. The Srimad Bhagavatam also affirms that one should follow in the footsteps of great devotees, and that is the way of progress on the path of spiritual realization. The king or executive head of a state, the father, and the school teacher are all considered to be natural leaders of the innocent people in general. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents. Therefore, they must be conversant with standard books of moral and spiritual codes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. They must be conversant with the standard books of moral and spiritual codes. Okay, yes. Few people consider their own disqualification. Is more qualified than me. So I should be wary of my tendency to imitate him. If we see another's activities and they seem pleasurable, we immediately want to join in. We do not stop to consider whether such activity will uplift us or degrade us. Krishna's instructions to Arjuna are meant to uplift humanity. Even though Arjuna, being highly qualified, might do well by going to the forest and begging, others who are less qualified will become degraded because they will imitate Arjuna without considering their own disqualification for renunciation. Krishna now uses Arjuna as example. So you can see that whatever action a great man performs, common man follows. And whatever standard is set by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. That is exactly why Krishna wanted Arjuna to perform his prescribed duties. Because Arjuna is a great man. Arjuna was already popular. The name Arjuna was a household name already, just like Ramachandra. He was already well known, a great man. Children will imitate him, they make plays. In ceremonies, they imitate Arjuna, they do drama. Arjuna was already a household name. So he was a great man. People were looking up to him to be trying to be like Arjuna. So if such a person performs any act, people will naturally follow it. Therefore, it was very important that Arjuna acted by proper examples and not otherwise. Arjuna was already popular. And whatever action he did, people will follow it, and they will not be able to control anything again. Arjuna did it, so I also do it. What is wrong? When Arjuna did it, what did you do? Did you stop him? You glorified Arjuna, did it. I want you to also. So that is why we have to leave an example. There was a story of a sage who was eating sugar. He was eating sweets. Then one woman brought her son who was so addicted to eating sweets. We all know the consequences of eating too much of sweet. So he came to him and said, please, sage, I want you to stop eating. I want you to tell this boy, my son, to stop eating sweets. Then the sage said, okay, go and come back in 7 days' time. So because the sage himself was eating sweets, it wouldn't have been potent if he were to instruct the child at that time. So within the 7 days, he stopped eating sweets also. Then when the lady come back in 7 days, he just told the sage just told the boy, stop eating sweets. The boy said, yes, yes, sage. And the boy just stopped eating sweet like that. Said, So the lady after some time came back to us and said, my dear sage, when I first came, you would have told him to stop eating sweet. Why did you tell me to go and come back in 7 days' time? Then the sage told her that, oh, within those 7 days, I myself, I was eating sweets. So I wanted to stop first so that I can instruct him. That if I'm eating sweet and I'm giving instruction, it will not work. No, it will not carry potency. So like that, whatever action a great man performs, common man actually follows. And they will cite examples, so person did this, so person did it. They take him as hero. So Arjuna needed to show the example. So Krishna is insisting that he does so. Yes. Krishna is insisting that he does so. Now, Krishna wants to use Arjuna as an example directly also. So in the next verse, verse 22. Verse 22.
Verse 22.
Verse 22.
O son of Krita, there is no work prescribed for me within all the 3 planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything.
But Hare Krishna, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna?
Yes, I wanted to ask a question based on the just read test.
Okay.
So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, see, being a devotee, we also go out there to preach. We preach philosophy to the people.
Yeah.
Even about the 4 regulative principles, some of us, we are not following it. But we used to tell people outside there to follow them. Is that not hypocrisy? Because ourselves, we are not living up to standard, but yet we go outside there and preach the same thing. Meanwhile, we ourselves, we are not following. So should we look at ourselves first, or should we become pure before we go out there to go and preach?
Okay, if you become pure before you go out to go and preach, that is the best. That is the best. That is the best. But if somehow or the other, you are not yet pure and you also go out to preach, it's also not bad. Though it will not carry more potency, it will not carry as much potency as one who is already pure before going to preach. Okay? It's possible, is it not possible that if there is fire in a room and I know where the door is, even though I'm not outside of the door, I'm also still within the classroom, and there is fire somewhere, fire outbreak within the room, and I said, look, that is where the door is. I point to where the door is. Is it not possible that somebody who followed that instruction goes to the door and can open and get saved? Is it possible?
Sure.
So if it is possible, then of course, even though it is best that we are pure before you go out to preach, we will still get some results if we preach without being fully pure ourselves. But that's not we are not encouraging people to do like that. We want devotees to follow the regulative principles. And generally, every devotee is expected to follow the regulative principle. So if for personal weakness, the devotee is not following the regulative principles and he gives Prabhupada's book to somebody, is it not possible that the person can read the Prabhupada books and associating with Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee, the person can become pure and even become more advanced than the person who gave him the book? If that is possible, if the answer is yes, then of course, even though it's not the best, it is acceptable. We are not propagating that. What we propagate is that you follow, then you have the potency to preach. Nevertheless, if somebody for personal weaknesses is not following properly and he gives Prabhupada books to somebody, it's allowed. We cannot say don't give Prabhupada books to somebody because you know that you are not following. So before we do marathon, we first bring everybody. If you know you are not following the regulative principles, do not go out to preach. Do not go and distribute books. It is not the best. We give chance for everybody to distribute the books because somebody who takes the books might come and follow and become a pure devotee. And you who gave the book, even though you have some challenges, you can become helped. You can be helped by the parampara to overcome your challenges because you have connected somebody who is now doing so well. The person's energy can also help you overcome that particular obstacle. So that is the situation, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Raganuga Bhakti Prabhu, continue.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, I think there's another hand up again.
Okay, Aswani Kumara Prabhu. Go around.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we are hearing you.
Yeah, please, I just want to contribute to the answer you gave to our dear brother.
Okay.
Amada. If you are an armed robber, for instance, and you go out there to the public to tell everybody that, please, I am an armed robber. I've seen that armed robbery is not good. So I wish everybody to stop armed robbery. Is it not good? I think it will help you to stop that processes or those activities in your life. Going out there to tell people I'm an armed robber will help you yourself to stop armed robbery.
Yes.
Similarly, if you are going out to tell people about God, it's a means to help you yourself to stop all your bad things that you are doing.
Yeah.
So I think this is my small contribution.
Yeah, it's a beautiful contribution. It's beautiful. You don't need to wait until you become pure before you say you will preach. You might not preach in your whole lifetime. And you might not give any proper book. You might not connect anybody until you leave your body. So it is better you are doing. Yeah. Though the intention is to become pure and you must be pure. If you see having some hang-ups, you can still distribute the proper books, represent the parameter, and the process itself will purify him too. So it's acceptable, even though it's not the best, it's still acceptable. So the example is given is also appropriate. When you are telling people, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, you are also preaching to yourself too. And, you know, eventually that can help you. The higher beings can help you. The Param can help you. This person has a desire to stop, but is still so enamored. And is telling others about the danger of doing that. So let us help him. They can help you like that. Go Ranga. Though that is not the best. The best is to leave an example, then get the potency to represent the parampara. But if, however, you see have some shortcomings, they can be considered like a black spot on the moon. The black spot on the moon does not actually defy the moon. The black spot on the moon does not stop the moon from diffusing its energy to nourish the vegetation. See, so though we are not trying to justify deviations or encourage deviations, we still want to point out that even in the Gita, there is a verse that even if a devotee commits the most abominable sin, it should be considered saintly if he is rightly situated. So someone may have some shortcomings. You are seeing those shortcomings because he's practicing. If he's hiding in his house and not coming to the public trying to represent the movement, nobody will consider he's a saint there in that corner. But because he's now practicing a system that is very transparent, that is white cloth, even a black spot on a white cloth is very pronounced. Anybody can see it from any distance. A black spot on a white cloth. But those who are already there doing all those things, they are like black spots. So a black spot on a black cloth cannot be seen. And many black spots on the black spot cannot be seen. But a devotee's deviation is seen because a devotee is a white cloth. And any little shortcoming he has will come to the surface. And the Paramparam also arranges for that to help push him beyond. So that is it. We should respect devotees, and we should never be quick to label a devotee as deviating or not pure or this or that. I've heard this about this devotee, I've heard that about that devotee, I've heard this about this devotee. What is he saying? I will not listen to what he's saying. If it is this devotee, he did this, he did that, he did this. We should rise above such mentality. I'm not saying that you are seeing the question as such mentality, but generally some people have such mentality. They try to find fault with every devotee they see. There is no devotee you present in this court that they will not tell you his fault. Srivas Banachari, this is his fault, that is his fault. BTT Mara, this is fault, that is his fault. Call any devotee, they have some fault to point out. You see? But they themselves are not ready to come on board to show the example that they want to see in others. They are just like spectators in a football match. They see how much all the players are making all the mistakes, how much they are not playing. But when you give them the opportunity to play, why don't they qualify them to become among the 11 players? Krishna consciousness is not a spectator sport. Krishna consciousness, is an equal opportunity employer. Everyone is given the same chance to live an example for others to see. So if one has taken bold step to boldly identify as a full-time devotee and therefore become a white cloth among the public, and you see a black spot and you focus on that black spot until you cannot even become a devotee yourself, what good have you done to yourself? So anyway, thank you very much for the contribution there.
Yes. Yeah, Christian Babu. Then about the leadership position. Since as a devotees, we have a knowledge about leadership. Isn't that good that we pursue these leadership positions and become leaders ourselves so that we can engage them in devotional service? Because most often when a devotee is trying to pursue this kind of political, then we begin to call them different names. But having knowledge about how to lead isn't better that we pursue these leadership positions and become leaders rather than being a devotee at one corner. So, your advice on this for me, because I wanted to be the next president of Ghana, if Krishna wills. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. That is beautiful. That is a beautiful, determination. Devotees are expected to take positions also. Devotees can become professionals. A devotee becomes a leader. He can be a very good leader, and he can efficiently allocate the resources, the national resources, and utilize them very nicely. So we don't discourage devotees from becoming leaders. You can become a leader, Prabhu. You can become a leader, and by examples, you can help the situation. If you become a leader, you can do so many things, to benefit the people, especially if you are the president. Though the president works with, a team, is not alone. You cannot take unilateral decisions like that. You have to take decisions with people who have selfish interests and who want to protect their selfish interests and who would like to label you as a problem when you are not dancing to their tune. And when they label you, 10 of them, 20 of them combine together and label you some allegation, they will remove you from the position. But still, if a devotee is there and he uses his intelligence, he can do so many things to benefit people. Yes, he can be a better leader if he is a devotee who is inclined. If you are a devotee and you are inclined to leadership, what is wrong, Prabhu? You can become a president, you can become a governor. We had a devotee from Nkoko who was a regional minister. He had been into politics, and we glorified him. We celebrated with him. He used Bhagavad Gita to take oath, to swear oath, and he was there. And though he lost in the next but he was there until he became a minister. Because people saw his personal conduct and that he was a very gentleman. They made him a minister. From there, he lost in the next but he showed by example. And the devotees were very happy. So we are not against that. We are in support. Anyone who wants to go into politics, if that is his calling, all glories, we won't do Jagya for you.
Hare Krishna.
We won't do Jagya for you. But when you get there, Prabhu, you have to consider not that when you get there, you just forget about every one of us. You must be careful that you cannot allocate anything for Krishna. You cannot even build a temple for Krishna. You cannot even build land for Krishna. And you go and become very careful, so careful that you cannot do anything for the movement. Then you better be careful. Go, Ranga.
Hare Krishna.
Let us go ahead, please. Let's go ahead. No more questions until we finish. We get to the end, then we ask questions if there is still time. We have about 20 minutes.
Verse 22. O son of Preta, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties.
Okay, here Krishna offers two examples. Janaka Maharaj, who attained perfection by performing his prescribed duties, and now himself, Krishna. Certainly, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, needs nothing. He needs nothing. He is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, and he needs nothing. He is God, the source of all things. An entire universe can be created or destroyed just by his willing. Although he has no needs, Krishna acts according to the scriptures. Why? Next verse. Verse 23.
23. As 23. For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, oh, Partha, certainly all men would follow my path.
So this is the way of setting examples. Doing prescribed duties to set examples. This is the theme of this particular section. Krishna is doing prescribed duty to set example. Therefore, Arjunas will also do prescribed duty to set example, because whatever a great man does, common man follows. And whatever standard is set by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men will follow in his footsteps, because he is the greatest authority. One might argue that some of Krishna's actions on the battlefields and his behavior in Vrindavan with the gopis do not conform, to the recommended Sastri path. That is true. Although Krishna generally does not transgress scriptural injunctions, he occasionally does so to please his devotees and to exhibit his supreme independent position. If therefore a discrepancy exists between Krishna's words and his actions, his words should be followed. Okay? No one should imitate Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, and act in opposition to Sastri. Krishna continues speaking about himself. Okay? No one should follow Krishna's example, because example informs that no one should imitate Krishna, because as he is acting to show example to establish religious principles, sometimes he performs activities to show that he is supreme. So if you cannot perform those activities, then don't try to imitate Krishna. Just follow his instructions. For instance, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. If you know you cannot lift Govardhan Hill, then you should follow Krishna's instructions and don't try to imitate him, because he also has to establish himself as beyond the Sastras. Even though he's the source, he's still beyond. It's not affected by them. So once in a while, he performs something to show you that he lifted Govardhan Hill. And if you want to criticize him for dancing with the gopis, then you should be ready to expand yourself into 16,108 places. If you cannot do that, then just follow the instructions. If you cannot drink poison, as Mahadev did, you cannot drink hala poison and still remain alive, then don't try to imitate Lord Shiva, that you are smoking ganja. So that is it. Go Ranga. Bhakti Ramachandra, you are welcome. You are welcome. You are highly welcome.
Thank you, Prabhu. I just joined you, but today is like we are not reading the sloka. What is going on?
And the point is that my Bhagavad Gita is in the shop. In a hurry, I got here and I forgot to carry my guitar along. So I just resort to reading the translation. That is why. From tomorrow we'll be reading the slokas, Go Ranga. But you are welcome. Thank you for coming very, very late.
You know
better late than never.
You know my problem.
No,
so
no. Better late than never. Just keep it like that.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So that is the situation. We should follow Krishna's instructions. Verse 24. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all of these worlds will be put to ruination. I will be the cause of creating an unwanted population, and I will thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. So even Krishna himself, even though he is the supreme personality of Godhead, he performed activities to show by example. Just to show by example. He acted as if he was an ordinary human being, bound by rules and regulations. So Arjuna said in the first chapter, if I fight, I will be the cause of women being left unprotected. And that will result in unwanted population, Vana Sankara. Here, Krishna counters that argument and again defeats Arjuna reasoning by indirectly saying, if you neglect your duty and decline to fight, then you will be the cause of Manasankara. So I myself, I do duty to show example so that people will not go that Manasankara way. Okay? So do your prescribed duty, but without attachment to the results. Then 25. As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned man similarly acts, but without attachment, for the sake of leading the people on the right path. Can somebody read the purport also?
A person in Krishna consciousness and a person not in Krishna consciousness are differentiated by different desires. As Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to development of Krishna consciousness, he may even act exactly like ignorant person who is too much attached to material activities. But one who is engaged in such activities for satisfaction of his sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is required to show the people how to act and how to engage in results of action for purpose of Krishna consciousness.
Good, Ranga. So that is it. That is it. Very clear that Krishna in this verse 32, Krishna compared the attached worker and the detached worker. Then he described how a detached man of knowledge to relate to one in ignorance. And this description will continue until text 32. That even a perfect person should perform his duty. This will continue text 32. Hare Krishna.
Priest, according to Srila Prabhupada purport, he said, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to develop of Krishna consciousness. He may even act exactly like the ignorant person. How does it mean?
Read it again.
A Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to development of Krishna consciousness.
Which is not conducive.
Yes. Even act exactly like ignorant person. What does it mean?
Okay, the meaning is that the bodies are eating, they are sleeping, they are mating, and they are defending. So the ordinary man will think that the body is also engaged in these activities. Okay? But Krishna is saying that being that he is a devotee, his activities should not be calculated from the external point of view because his intention is to please Krishna.
Okay.
Okay? Like somebody comes to attack the temple now, the devotee may fight back and stop them from attacking the temple. He would think that this is an ordinary activity. This man is fighting. I'm fighting. What is different? He's fighting to protect Krishna's property. His intention is not selfish. He's fighting to protect devotees. So a devotee's activity may act exactly like what the ordinary person is doing, but it's not the same. His intention is different. That's what it means. Okay. Now, verse 26, we say Krishna is going to do this series of talks until verse 32. So 26. So not as to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruity result of prescribed duties. A learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, is to engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness, we don't encourage people to stop their work. We don't encourage laziness. We don't encourage inactivity. No matter what you are doing, whatever you are doing, we encourage you to do, but you have to do it in the spirit of devotion. What we add to you is the spirit of devotion. So if you want to do politics, you can go ahead and do politics. Dr. Amega, whose video is always up, but whose hand is always up. Even if you want to do politics, you can go ahead to do politics. We will not discourage you from doing politics. Okay, but you should do that politics in the spirit of devotion. This is the purpose of this verse. So wait until we finish through some level first, then you ask a question. Especially for the fact that your face is never shown. We only see a picture. You are doing other things that will benefit only you alone. You are doing some other things that will benefit only you alone. If I'm wrong, then put your video. I challenge you to put your video on. Okay, so we will preach to an attached materialist. It's no use working for Maya. You can't take your gains with you when you die. What will you eternally gain by such work? Obviously, that is true. But Krishna herein recommends an additional strategy. Krishna recommends an additional strategy, encouraging those who are attached to use their work and its fruits for devotional service. That is the strategy. Don't stop work, but when you work, give some of your fruits to foster devotional service. Now, Krishna again says that premature renunciation without spiritual realization leads to degradation. Premature renunciation without spiritual realization leads to degradation. So don't renounce prematurely. Whatever you are doing, do it. Madhu Sneha Prabhu is working. We don't say, Madhu Sneha Prabhu, stop your work and come and live in the temple. Then only you are a devotee. No. Madhu Sneha Prabhu should do his work. He should do his work. Bhakti Lawson should do his work. Don't stop doing your work. Especially if you are going to be a householder, continue to do your work, but bring some of the results of your work. This is strategy. Engage some of the results. As soon as Kumara should not stop working and treating people and curing something and releasing people of pains. You should continue to do that. Don't stop, but bring some of the results. That's all what we are asking you to do. So by that, you will gradually elevate. This is the strategy. So Krishna is saying emphatically, premature renunciation without spiritual realization leads to degradation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Please spare your the statement you just made that everybody should not stop work. We should start. We should work whilst we bring some to the temple. Also support the temple and also support Krishna consciousness movement. But Prabhu, in the beginning of ISKCON in Accra, mid-year precisely, we see most of our senior devotees. If you listen to their previous work, what they were doing was great. But actually, when we see them today, their story is a different thing altogether. Does it mean that this portion was not preached, or this portion was not preached to them, and then they sometimes when you are having a conversation with them, even though they are inspiring you to do more, but you hear this little bit of bitterness in them, and it's causing a whole lot. So I want to know if probably this portion of the text was not preached to them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, these people, whenever a movement comes, there are certain people who have to do some serious sacrifice to establish the movement. So especially the pioneers, they are called the pioneers. The pioneers sacrifice everything they are doing to establish a system. And that is what these senior devotees did. At that time, the mood of preaching was just renunciation, but we needed more people to preach to establish the movement. And that was the focus of the preaching. And truly, everybody was renounced fully. If you are not fully renounced, you are considered to be in Maya at that time. So everybody left whatever they were doing. Becoming a devotee means you give up everything. If you are schooling, you abandon your education and you become a full-time devotee so that you can preach. And that was okay at that time. And that created those set of devotees that established the movement for you to come and join now. So they sacrificed, and it was okay. They made proportionate spiritual advancement. Those who are able to remain steady and who realize that they were used as instrument by the Paramparam to establish the movement, they are still happy today. Even though presently they are considered, materially speaking, because due to some level of mismanagement also, they are left to be on their own. That's supposed not to be. In temples where things are better organized, these devotees are not left to struggle on their own. Because they have become householders, they are left alone to struggle, to carry everything on their. In better organized temples, there is arrangement for them. They are gloriously helped by the management. The management arranged in a way that they are helped. They talk to people who are in position to make sure they are fully helped. This we are ignoring, and thereby leaving them to struggle all on their own. If they have headache, they are on their own. If their children need something, they are on their own. If their children have to go to school, they are on their own. If they have to rent a house, they are on their own. Whereas they sacrifice for many years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So it is a mismanagement on the part of the leaders. So if they are able to absorb it, they make a lot of advancements. And if they point it out, also, there is nothing wrong in it. It is left for management to look at it and not leave these people as people who have not made sacrifice while they are still in the movement. You see people now respect only those who have material facilities, who can give donations, they respect them. Then those who sacrifice fully all their life, they are just left to struggle on their own. And they make jest of them sometimes, and younger devotees make jest of them, like people who are not successful, but they are successful. Krishna knows they are successful. Krishna is sustaining them. Krishna has been sustaining them. He's still sustaining them. It's only the way they expect things is not the way it's happening. But Krishna is in charge. Krishna never leaves a devotee who makes sacrifice. Krishna never fails to reciprocate the service that the devotee does. So that's why devotees should be in knowledge. They should be in real knowledge that that sacrifice they made is to help the evolution of their own soul. So they should not lament so much. Even if management neglects them, neglect to arrange for them, they should not lament so much because Krishna, as the supreme manager, is still sustaining them. If they were to leave everything and go and pursue all the things they left before, they might get lost in the process. Then what is the use? So this is a management stuff, something that we should look into. You make sure we don't neglect this devotees, because if there is any movement and there are no senior devotees who have been living like that, who sacrifice and they are properly taken care of and they are happy there. If there is a movement that there are no happy elderly devotees, it is a signal to all the young ones that those elders made mistake for sacrificing their time and energy, for the movement in that way. That is the negative signal. It's a negative pressure, which should not be allowed, because actually it was not a mistake. It is the parameter that used them to establish the movement. Therefore, it is the movement top-level management duty to make sure that these householders are properly helped to settle in a way that they can make a balance. So this is what you are seeing. What you have seen is very correct observation. It's practical, correct observation. Okay? But it is not a cause for lamentation for one who is in knowledge. Sometimes, due to the way things are poorly managed, we can make reference to it, but it is not a discouragement in totality. That's why you are still seeing us here, active, waxing stronger and stronger and stronger. You see, some of us left our university education to become full-time devotees. And we remain devotees for more than 20 years. All our mates are professors. You see, so we are not supposed to be neglected, to take it all on our own and to struggling very hard to survive on our. That is a mismanagement on the part of the top level management. That should not be. Therefore, our guru was emphasizing seriously that devotees, these senior devotees, should be well taken care of. The movement. In fact, I remember even Gurudev himself personally arranged for some devotees to get some business because they were becoming householders. He personally gave money to rent a shop for them to help get some accommodation. So these things are necessary because the body and the soul is inside the body. The body is needed to do the service. It should not be that we use them when they are young, then when they are becoming old, we dump them. That is a movement that is only interested in what they can get from. It should not be. And Prabhupada did not manage his movement like that. So it's mismanagement on the part of the top level management, which we are all part of the top level management somehow. So we are still trying to see how to help. We are human, we are not perfect managers. Understand? We are not perfect managers. We are still seeing how we can also become part of those who will make the positive change. So this is how it's going on. It's a growth experience, Prabhu. It's a growth experience. Okay,
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Okay, thank you very much.
We should be very careful not to give negative signal to the young ones that those who sacrifice for the movement, they made mistake. It's very, very dangerous. You will never see any very young person wanting to come and renounce fully again.
No, the system has changed. Yes, Prabhu. Once you were making the speech also, you know, most of them too have children. So with that, even though they have knowledge in Krishna consciousness, and then looking at how their children are also going, how are they also, since they are not getting any support from their temple or wherever the support is coming from, how are they also going to impact that knowledge into their children? Because the children are the future of the movement. So because ever since I joined this movement, I've seen so many youth maybe going away. The youth that we came to meet, most of their parents are devotees, but we don't see those children anymore. Are we not losing the youth?
Yeah, this is mismanagement we are talking about. So we are trying to look at it more wholesomely from the management point of view. This is a challenge for the management. They have to know how to really integrate it. So it's something we are not ignoring it. We are looking into it. Top level management from GBC to local GBC to temple presidents, we are all looking into it. It's a subject matter. It's part of growth experience anyway, and it exposes our immaturity in management and all that. But that doesn't remove from our spiritual life anyway. But your observation is very nice, and it's a concern for every serious devotee right now. We sort it out. Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so this is where we are. How far have we gone? How many minutes more do we have? Oh, we don't have any more minutes.
Already over the 5 minutes, Prabhu.
We don't have any more
Can
minutes.
continue.
We don't have any more minutes again, so we'll stop at text 20. We said let's say 25 because it was supposed to go up to 32. It was also supposed to go up to 32 or 36. But we'll continue and finish the rest tomorrow. Let's see if we finish. But before we finish, before we leave, let us see some capsules. A summary of what we have learned. Chapter 3. We talk about the purpose of creation and the Vedic Kamakanda system, that the Lord created the material world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform jagyas for the satisfaction of Vishnu, so that while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety, and after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul, that by performance of jagya, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious, and become godly in all respects. There are two results of sacrifices: fulfilling all material desires and purifying the heart. Purifying the heart. These are the result of the jagya. That fulfilling desire by demigod worship, that what is the chief purpose of all jagyas? It is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is the beneficiary of all kinds of jagyas, Bhuktaram Jagya Tapasam. Therefore, ultimate satisfaction of the jagya party is the chief purpose of all jagyas. When these jagyas are perfectly performed, naturally, the demigods in charge of the different departments, with supply are pleased, and there is no scarcity in the supply of natural products. We can see fulfilling desire by demigod worship. If we forget the purpose of human life and simply take on to the supplies of these amenities, wait, let me minimize it so that I can see. It takes supplies from these agents of the Lord for sense gratification and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation. Certainly, we become thieves, and therefore we are punished by the laws of material nature. A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim of life or aim to life. That society of thieves, we should recognize the demigods. But is there a separate need to worship the demigods? So when Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods, who are different limbs of the Lord, are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. Okay? No separate needs, all devotees to worship the demigods. Now, this is the cycle of sacrifice again. For this reason, the devotees of the Lord who are in Krishna consciousness offer food to Krishna and then eat, a process which nourishes the body spiritually. By such action, not only are past sinful reactions in the body vanquished, but the body becomes immunized to all contamination of material nature. When there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such an epidemic. So we offer our food to Krishna. So this is the cycle of sacrifice. All embodied beings subsist on food grains. Foods are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of sacrifice. And sacrifice is born out of prescribed duty. And prescribed duties are given in the Vedas. And the Vedas are coming directly from the Supreme Lord. So that is it. The Vedas are directly coming from the Supreme Lord. This is the cycle of sacrifice. All embodied living beings subsist on food grains. Food grains are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of Jagya. Jagya is born out of prescribed duties, and prescribed duties are defined and given by the Vedas, and the Vedas are coming directly from the Supreme Lord. So the whole arrangement is coming from the Supreme Lord. Gauranga. Then we say sacrifice is a must. That the Mammonist philosophy of work very hard and enjoy sense gratification is condemned herein by the Lord. Therefore, for those who want to enjoy this material world, the above mentioned cycle of performance of Jagya is absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. One who does not follow such regulations is living a very risky life, being condemned more and more. By nature's law, this human form of life is specifically meant for self-realization in either of the three ways, namely yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, or bhakti yoga. This is how it should be. Then this session 17 to 35, it talks about performing detached work to set example. And we say acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord, that act as a matter of duty. Krishna wanted Arjuna to act as a matter of duty. That to be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment. But to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. That is perfect action of the highest degree recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The Vedic rituals, like prescribed sacrifices, are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification. But action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the results, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities, but completely non-attached. So his action can resemble that of an ordinary man, but it's actually Krishna conscious, transcendental. Therefore, some examples were given. Krishna gave example that Janaka was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Ramachandra. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendentally situated. But because he was the king of Mithila, a subdivision of Bihar province in India, he had to teach his subjects how to perform prescribed duties. So he was practically tilling the soil by himself. You can see Janaka Maharaj tilling the soil. A king has no business to tilling soil directly, but he was doing that to set example for others. That Lord Krishna himself personally show example by his own life that Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal friend, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they fought to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in a situation where good argument fails. Okay? Before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the Supreme Personality of God. But the other party was determined to fight. So, for such a right cause, there is necessity for fighting. So, Krishna personally did. That Acharya, people in general, always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. A leader cannot teach the people to stop smoking if himself smokes. Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. One who teaches in that way is called an acharya, or the ideal teacher. Okay? So, the Supreme Lord working to set example, continuation. Why did the Supreme Lord follow the prescribed rules? Although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not for Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principle of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men will follow in his footsteps because he is the greatest authority. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder. Now we say, we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord. We still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. We cannot imitate him. Following and imitating are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting over that hill as the Lord did in his childhood. It is impossible for any human being. We have to follow his instructions, but we may not imitate him at any time. Okay? So sometimes the Lord performs activities to show his supremacy. That we should always consider the position of Iswaras, or those who can actually control the movements of the sun and the moon as superior. Without such power, one cannot imitate the Iswaras, who are superpower, powerful. Lord Shiva drank poison to the essence of swallowing an ocean. But if any common man tries to drink even a fragment of such poison, he will be killed. So before we can start smoking ganja that Lord Shiva did, then we must be able to drink poison, also ocean of poison. Otherwise, we should be very careful. These are personalities that are called Iswaras, the universal controllers. They can do and undo. Even the sun god, don't imitate, because the sun can purify anything that you put in front of it, even stew, to dry it up and turn it, purify it. Can you dry up stew? So if we cannot do what these powerful universal personalities can do, don't imitate them. We should follow their instructions. This is the point. Okay? For the satisfaction of Krishna, this is attached worker versus unattached worker. This is the last test we did today. That the person in Krishna consciousness and a person not in Krishna consciousness are differentiated by different desires. A Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to the development of Krishna consciousness. He may even act like the ignorant person who is too much attached to material activities, but one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged in the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is required to show the people how to act and how to engage the result of action for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. So thank you very much. We stop here and we'll continue from the next verse tomorrow. Bhakti Omega, can we see your face now? Bhakti Lawson, can we see your face now? You are successfully.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. You are successfully hiding your faces throughout. That you are doing activities that will benefit you alone. You should bring credit. You should bring data. You should bring data to your teacher for tomorrow class for hiding your face throughout. That is Bhakti Omega. Bhakti Lawson, also bring your own data too for the teacher for hiding your face throughout. Two of you. You are caught in the net of those who hid their faces. Even
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That is glorious. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So bring your data. Bhakti Lawson, I want to hear from you. Are you bringing your data tomorrow also or today?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. So this is fine. We are going to be getting data like anything. If you like,
sure.
Every time we're getting data from you. Go, Ranga.
Hare Krishna.
Meanwhile, thank Aswini Kumara Prabhu for providing data for today. All glory. This co-founder Charles AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki
Jai.
See you
Chaitanya
tomorrow.
Pramadas Prabhu ki.
Dandava Pranam. See you tomorrow by
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Go, Ranga.